Hey, Book Baddie.
Welcome to the Bound to Be Bad podcast,
A book club podcast where we discuss one book a season from the perspective of someone who has never read the book before.
and from the perspective of someone who has. This season, we are so excited to be reading Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros with you.
I'm Cierra, my pronouns are she, her, and I'm the wing leader.
And I'm Casper, my pronouns are they, she, and I'm the first year cadet.
We aim to rave and rant about anything and everything that comes to mind while reading. But please note, this podcast will be discussing book spoilers as we talk about each week's chapters.
As this will be my first time reading, spoilers for anything beyond the already read material is not fair game.
This podcast is run by adults who will most likely be using adult language and talking about adult themes, so please be aware of your surroundings while listening.
These thoughts and opinions are expressly our own and by no means reflect those of the original author. Reading is a privilege, books are art, and art is subjective.
That being said, we'd love for you to read along with us and share your thoughts and opinions as well.
So without further ado, prepare to enter Basgiath War College.
New here? No worries. Here's how this conversation is about to go down. First, a little about us. This is, after all, my excuse to catch up with my bestie and force them to obsess over my obsessions too. Then I'll provide a short and sassy summary of chapters 18 through 21. We'll give our brief, non-spoilery overall thoughts before diving into each chapter individually. Then we'll discuss our favorite quotes or moments and any predictions for the rest of the book. Finally, we've got a fun little section where we've each picked a song to dedicate to each chapter. Songs that we'll compile into a public playlist for you, our fellow book baddies. Got it? Good. Now let's dive in. What's new with you?
I am moving in with one of my partners. So recently, we've been binge watching Degrassi: The Next Generation.
Wow, that's a throwback.
I know, because we both watched it growing up, but haven't watched it since we were teenagers. It is nostalgic and just ridiculous.
That's the one with Drake, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's been so much fun. I believe we started maybe 3 or 4 days ago, something like that. We're on season 3.
Are you watching like a season a day?
Oh no, maybe. Don't worry about it.
Hey, you do you. You're on spring break, so.
Exactly. We have ADHD. We hyperfocus. Yeah, so that's kind of what I've been a little bit obsessed with this past week. What's new with you?
Mine isn't necessarily new, but I'm desperately trying to find a rhythm with getting back into reading outside of Fourth Wing, as much as I've been loving diving into the series in a more analytical way than just reading. So I'm listening to Spark of the Everflame by Penn Cole, because the third book in that series came out last week, if I remember correctly. And so I'm trying to catch up by listening to them before diving into the third book. And I'm loving it. It's slow burn. The main character is very true to herself, to the point where sometimes I kind of just want to shake her because she does stuff I wouldn't do. But I kind of love her for it at the same time. It's a love-hate relationship with DM. It's been good. I've been enjoying listening to that when I can find time. I'm hoping this will be the first book that I can actually kind of finish outside of Fourth Wing. Because this podcast has significantly dampened my reading speed.
I understand. Also, pausing for a second to take a photo of, so your video unfroze for a second, just enough for you to make a very funny face that it is now frozen on.
Lovely.
So I'm going to show you that later.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Just what I need, blackmail. This was something I did not foresee going into filming a podcast, was the faces that we could be frozen on.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh God, yeah. I didn't consider that. I make a lot of weird faces.
Mm-hmm. And I haven't tried to blackmail you yet.
Haven't you?
Not with that.
Exactly.
Shall we get into our short, consecutively not as short, sassy summary? I don't know how to stop, apparently, with these. Jump cut to a month later, and Violet now has archives duty. As quadrant chores go, she scored her favorite. We meet Violet's friend Justinia, a first-year scribe who reveals that the archives doesn't carry a copy of the silly little book of fables that Violet loved growing up. The archives is meant to have either a copy or the original of almost every book in Navarre. Need a book on Chimera? No problem. How about a book about Kraken? Absolutely. But a book about Wyvern or the venom that create them? Nada. Zero. Zilch. How bizarre. Fables of the Baron? Less. Violet rushes to lunch, where the new squad dynamic after threshing is anything but comfortable. We learn that Sawyer has manifested his signet. He's a metallurgist, meaning he can urge metals. See what I did there? And he's the first to display any form of power. You go, Glen Coco. We'll get you some wooden utensils later. Although after hearing that there's an average time frame that the rest of the squad needs to start manifesting their signets by or else the magic consumes them, I bet you're feeling a little luckier now, huh, bud? But is anyone really safe knowing the unbonded still have a shot at stealing a dragon? It's always something around Basgaiath. After flight class, Taryn lives up to his grump dad persona by giving Violet grief over just how annoying she finds the wing leader. But banter time is about to be cut short because Dane angrily approaches, solidifying Taryn as the bestest, most goodest boy in all of the continent, as he warns Dane that he'll scorch the ground where he stands. Dane pulls the usual "you aren't enough and you aren't cutting it, but let me help you" bullshit, and it's finally the last straw. Violet tells him off, and the readers rejoice. But it's over quickly as Violet catches up with the rest of the squad in the courtyard, and a first-year writer named Jeremiah manifests his intrinsic signet in front of an audience. Did someone call a chiropractor? Nope, it's just Professor Carr, who, upon hearing that Jeremiah is an intrinsic, snaps his neck. Way to make an unforgettable entrance into the story, my guy. Cut to Violet sleeping peacefully in her room when Taryn breaks into her subconscious to mentally yell at her to wake. 6 cadets and 1 writer have broken into her private room in an illegal attempt to kill her in her sleep, so one of them might have a chance at bonding Taryn. It's not looking good for our girl, but just as the door flies open and Darna screams and time stands still, it's in Darna's power. Once time continues, Xaden quickly dispatches every cadet and after a sexually charged rib inspection, hauls Violet out to the flight field to have a family meeting with their trio of dragons. We learn about feather tails and gifts and mating bonds, oh my, ending the night with Violet trusting that Xaden will believe her about who let the unbonded into her room. The next morning at formation, Xaden informs Dane that there will be a change to his squad role. Second squad gains Liam Mari, and Violet knows exactly why he's been moved to her squad. Oh, but Xaden isn't done yet. He calls to answer for her crime against Cadet Soaringale wing leader Amber Mavis. Dane can't believe it, and we all knew he'd feel that way. Biases against marked ones are made abundantly clear by several writers as Dane orders Violet to give him the memory of last night. So, brilliant woman that Violet is, she one-ups Dane and has Taryn show the edited memory to the whole quadrant, and the quorum are in unanimous agreement. We find you guilty, Amber Mavis, and as is our law, your sentence will be carried out by fire. It's now been a week later, and Liam and Violet are at archives duty, where Liam proves to be a shameless flirt. Violet learns from Liam that all marked ones are conscripted into the writer's quadrant, and even manages to gracefully put her foot in her mouth when learning about Liam's family history with the rebellion. After accidentally reading an unmarked scroll meant for Markham, we're sitting in battle brief. Second squad is proving to be the best squad as they banter about Violet's sex life, or lack thereof. As class begins, Violet and Liam quickly realize that maybe the unmarked scroll was classified, and they just missed it, because Markham is acting like the front lines are relatively quiet when the unmarked scroll says the opposite. What did you think of these chapters overall?
I felt like there was a lot of lore drops about a lot of different stuff, which was really, really cool. We've established I love the world building. Give me the world building. And like the history of things is really interesting to me.
Excuse me. Rewind. You didn't say your catchphrase.
Shut the fuck up, Dane! That one?
No.
Oh, because I'm a whore for lore.
Thank you. What did you think about how quickly that came to fruition and how quickly judgment was passed?
It was intense. And yeah, a lot faster of a process than I was expecting. But I'm wondering if also that has to do with Taryn a little bit, like being able to show Violet's memory, you know?
Shall we get into a deeper dive then?
Yes.
Chapter 18. So we start off with archives duty and meeting Jessenia.
Yeah.
I'm excited to hear your thoughts about Jessenia, because it's our first deaf representation in the book.
Yeah, and I love it. I love it so much. It made me so happy to see that. I did have a thought, though, or a question. So the scribes are not supposed to show emotion at all, correct? Not just like they're not supposed to smile or whatever. They're supposed to have no emotion.
Mm-hmm. Because later when Markham shows up, she's like, it's easier to keep my face expressionless because he'll expect it.
True. So here's my issue. So much of signing has to do with facial expression. So my brain was kind of like, wait, yeah, I don't know. That was just a thought that I had. Also, how many people sign? I'm curious how she's able to communicate with everyone, like the important instructors and things like that, if not everyone signs. And I'm assuming that not everyone signs because not everyone signs in a real world. So yeah, it just made me wonder a lot about her and like her backstory and her life. And yeah, I want to know more about her. I like her a lot.
I wonder if, with being in the scribes, if she just kind of has to keep like a quill with her at all times in case somebody doesn't know how to sign, so that way she's able to still communicate what she needs to.
True,
I don't
true.
know.
Well, I mean, what a lot of deaf people do in real life as well.
I did want to bring up this one point a little bit before we meet Jacinia. So she's feeling a bit homesick, but she thinks, I am a writer. The thought brings a smile to my lips. She went into the writer's quadrant expecting to die. And the fact that, especially in this chapter, she expresses how happy she is. I'm really caring for her journey at this point in the book. I mean, we've made it to the halfway mark now in this section of chapters. And I'm so invested. I'm so deep into this story at this point that I'm just like, I am Violet. I was wondering, since you brought up the rituals and customs of the scribes, now that we're about halfway through and we know more about the scribes, do you still feel like you would fit best in the scribe quadrant, knowing how animated you are?
Nope. No.
So then, where would that leave you? Would you be infantry if you don't
It
feel
would
like you'd
leave
be a
me
writer?
dead. It would leave me dead.
Or do you think you could build up a stomach to be a healer?
I probably could.
I think so.
Eventually. I mean, I watch a lot of horror movies. You wouldn't think I'd be as queasy about stuff like that as I am, but
Yeah.
in medical settings especially, horror is fake. Horror is very fake. It feels fake most of the time. I can separate it. But when it's like how my mom used to watch ER when I was growing up, and I was scarred for life. There, much in the way she scarred me for life by watching Chucky, I was like sick and in her bed. The same thing happened with ER, where I was sleeping in my mom's bed with her because I wasn't feeling well. And I woke up in the middle of the night and she was watching ER, and all I saw was some dude's eyeball pop out of his skull. And I'm like,
Nope.
nope.
This sounds very similar to a story I have where I was so sick. The doctor, when I finally went in, was like, this is the closest case to scarlet fever I've seen in a long time. And I fell asleep on the couch because that's kind of where I was living for that week. And my mom was watching something and some alien popped out of someone's chest. But seeing it like made me feel nauseous, so I ran to the bathroom and then fainted and hit my head on the wall. Mom had to walk in on like 12-year-old me with my underwear around my feet, passed out.
No.
Yep.
Were you concussed?
No, we went to the hospital and I got a shot in my tuchus.
I've had that before. It sucks. I hate
And
it.
awkward. I had a
Yeah.
male doctor.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think when I got mine, I was around the same age. I was like 11 or so. And it was not my normal doctor because we were like staying with my aunt at the time. But ended up having to go to like urgent care or something. And they gave me a shot in my butt. And it was so uncomfortable in so many ways.
I was bawling because I felt extremely uncomfortable. It was not a good time.
Oh, no.
Back into Violet finding herself. Not only has she found herself, or is starting to find herself, but it feels like she's found her home within the writer's quadrant. I highlighted this section here. My feelings are complicated, but I think about the way it felt to soar on Taryn's back, the gentle nudges from Indarna to keep going when I thought my muscles might give out during Imogen's training sessions and my relationships with my friends. And I can't deny the truth. I'm happy. And I literally wrote, I could weep. This
Right?
is so sweet. Do you have thoughts on the fables of the Baron?
Yeah, I want to know what fuck's going on there. Where did this book come from? And it must be pretty fucking important because it just leads me back to like there's some shit going on here that the top people don't want people to know about, and they're hiding information. It's shady as hell. So there must be something, I'm assuming, that they are intentionally keeping from the archives, like any of the information that might be in there that Violet's like, yeah, why aren't any of these things mentioned?
I loved some of those lines here. She's starting to feel homesick. She brings up the fables of the barons, and I highlighted, it would be nice to spend an evening curled up with a familiar story. And I was like, Rebecca, how'd you know this is how I would feel about your book right now? It was nice. And then if anyone understands my love for books, it's Jacinia. And I wrote, Book Baddie besties.
Yeah. Oh.
It's us.
It's us. There's a line here that fucking hit me in the feels. Basically, the whole line is, scribes come and go, some in groups, as they train to become our kingdom's historians, and I find myself staring at every hooded figure, searching for a face I know I can't find, searching for my father. There have been a shocking number of times in the past 11 years where I will see like a middle-aged pudgy white man with glasses, and my brain will instantly recognize it as my father, and I will have to do like a what?
To go along with her feeling like she's found her home, like her place, and Darna talks to her because she's like, you're sad.
Yeah.
And when Darna gives advice, she's like, it's hard to love a second home as much as the first. And Violet responds, it's easy when the second home is the right one.
I'll mark that part too.
Yep. You was meant to be a writer. Archives duty is over. So at lunch, we see a bit of the new squad dynamic. I feel like we didn't quite touch on this in our last episode, but after threshing, all the third sections dissolved because of how few cadets and riders there were afterwards. And so it looks like they have 2 new first years and 2 second years, but they sit a table away because they refuse to sit with anyone with a rebellion relic. And I love Violet's, so fuck them. And it's starting to show that Violet was terrified of them when she first went into the Riders Quadrant. And now she's finding herself being, like, I guess, more sympathetic to them. And in general, they're people. So I think Violet very much has the strong moral compass sense of, like, why would you treat somebody bad with a shitty reason for something that they didn't do?
Yeah, she's got a lot of empathy for sure.
We find out that Sawyer is the first to get his signet. And I highlighted, as far as I know, he's the first of us to display any form of power, let alone a signet. After he had to wait a whole entire year.
He deserves it.
Yeah, it seemed very poetic that he ended up being the first.
It was right. It's right that it was him to be the first, yeah.
And Riddick just, like, telling his whole story, and Sawyer's just like, you don't have to tell anybody, like, I'm fine, it's fine.
Yeah, I love how Rhiannon's like, you could let him tell the story. Sawyer's like, no thank you, I don't want to.
I freaking love this squad, like, the core squad.
Me too.
I don't know how I feel about the newbies yet. We get our first of this section's Zadie sense tingle.
Yeah.
It's the first of this session, but it's the 11th overall in the book so far.
Goodness, she got a tingly old scalp.
Yeah. Let's jump into flight lessons and the fight with Dane. So when we jumped to the beginning of chapter 18, there was a whole month after threshing. Well, I guess before we get to that, they're landing from flight field. I love this part where Violet is doing all these checks on Taryn that Kaori taught them, and he brushes her off, not foolish enough to not know that I have something stuck in my flesh, but she continues to do it anyway. I just thought it was a really cute way to show Violet caring for Taryn in a, like what you would do with a dog kind of a way, or a pet, but he's more the human in this scenario. But I just thought it was cute. Violet is gonna care for you no matter what you do. Like, you can tell her no and she'll be like, okay, but let me still check anyway.
Yeah, relatable.
And also, I forgot to tell you last time when we met Taryn. Taryn is actually based off of an English bulldog that Rebecca Yarros had, who was a little grump.
I love English bulldogs.
And I think it's so cute. I think she's got a couple.
Poor little bastards, but I love them. They're adorable.
Right. Those are all favorites. I have a lot of grump banter in my favorite section this time around.
I also have a lot of the grump banter, but I kind of I highlighted things, specific lines, but it felt like too much to go in and make note about every one of them. Yeah, we're just going to be like, just in general, I love all of this banter. They're fucking grumpy ass grandpa, and yeah, I just love them. I loved a sassy old dragon boy.
He's the best.
Dragon fodder.
Dragon Vader. So Dane shows up. He says when Taryn's very overprotective dad. This is actually the chapter that gave me the Grump Dad nickname for him, because she calls him Grumpy a little bit earlier than this, and then says he's like an overprotective dad. And I'm like, Grump Dad it is.
Yes.
But Dane says, I would rather die than harm you, and you know it. Boy, how do you still think like this? You've proven otherwise. So you saying it doesn't make it true.
Because actions speak louder than words, motherfucker.
He then goes on to say, all this time I've been letting Kaori teach you. Excuse me? You're letting a professor teach? Who promoted you? And when? We jumped a month. I imagine this entire time they haven't really spoken because he's like, we're just friends. After the kiss. I've got some points that I think strengthen that argument that we can get into in a little bit. But I can see Violet pulling away from him because he's been so pessimistic. He's constantly on her case without actually doing anything about it, at least anything helpful. He also is the type of person that feels like he's entitled to knowledge. And so I get from that perspective of her being your best friend, of you being hurt that she didn't tell you personally, but also she doesn't see problem because she's actively doing things to work towards making it not a problem. Love. So Violet immediately says, after he's like, I've been letting Kaori teach you. In the next paragraph down, she's like, I'm sorry you haven't been keeping tabs on your squad. I feel like this is another like, oh, so Dane's an absent leader. Got it.
I also love when she calls him out and she says, I'm not going to stand here while you lecture me like I'm a child. Hell yeah, girl, that is exactly what's happening. Don't let him fucking do that. I'm just, with her standing up to him and just fucking giving it to him, I'm so proud of her. This is,
I nerd out a little bit sometimes about writing And when certain lines really hit me, I feel like I have to point them out. And I really loved this line. It says, frustration is a living, breathing thing inside me, eating up all rational thought. I instantly understood this sentence from a visceral standpoint, and I thought that was beautiful writing.
That was one of my favorite quotes for this chapter as well, because like that, I feel that so hard in my bones. Yeah, just being so like frustrated and upset that you lose your fucking mind like a little bit and act in ways that you know are not rational or helpful.
One thing I love about Violet as a character is while she is very compassionate, very moral, often will try to see better side of somebody, she's also someone with a temper, and when it blows up, it blows up. And she's not afraid to go off on someone.
Yeah, I relate to that a lot.
So Dane is like, what can I do to help you? And Violet's like, oh, you want a list of my flaws? And I love this next section because instead of listing flaws, she's listing things she's having issues with, but she's working on bettering. And so Violet says, my thighs are too weak, but I'm building muscle. My hands can't grip the pommel, but they're getting stronger. It took weeks for my biceps to heal, so I'm training that one too. But you don't have to worry about me, Dane. Imogen is training me. And then 3 paragraphs down from that, she says that Dane looks more like a stranger than he's ever looked before. These 2 sections that I've highlighted feel like proof that he hasn't checked in that month since threshing, because he would know all these different issues if he was checking in. And the fact that he looks like a stranger, I'm just like, okay, so there's distance there. And I wouldn't be surprised, this is also maybe my way of dealing with people and things that I don't want to deal with anymore, is I avoid them like the plague. So I can see her doing it subconsciously, even because she's so focused on working hard and making it through the writer's quadrant her own way.
She ain't got no time for Dane and his bullshit.
I think it's difficult for him to accept that she's able to without him.
In spite of him, even.
I found some foreshadow on this page for a section of chapters. Dane apparently got lit up by Amber for an hour about how Violet acted dishonorably.
Dishonorably, air quote.
That word specifically. And I found it interesting because then Amber will act dishonorably, only Amber didn't play the game correctly. I also came to some conclusions about Amber when we get to that chapter that I hadn't before, and I'm interested to see what you think of them.
I'm interested to hear. But yeah, this whole section, because just a little bit down from that, Dane says she's a wing leader, Vi. I'm not about to question her integrity. So just for the fact that she's a wing leader and you fucked her, you refuse to question her integrity, but your best friend of your entire life, you have no problem questioning.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
Fuck you, Dane.
Other than he's like so gone on the Kool-Aid that like anyone in any kind of leadership position, he instantly is like, yes, and bows at their feet. That's the only thing I can think of. And then he says the line that would have been my last straw too. Dane says, you know exactly how I feel about you, whether or not I can do anything about it. And I'm terrified whether or not you can do anything about it.
Fuck you talking about? What the actual fuck are you talking about?
This like self-made rule that he's imposing on them.
I just love that she literally laughs at this, that it is just too fucking much for her. The ridiculousness of it and her seeing completely through him, that is just the automatic response.
Also, I adore Violet's mind in that she's able to recall things that happen. So she recalls and parrots essentially to Dane words that he said to her from the summer. We're currently in November.
What's it like to have a functioning brain
right?
that remembers things?
I don't remember if I've eaten breakfast half the time.
Literally yesterday, it was 5:36 p.m. and I had to go, have I eaten today? I had.
Good.
In the morning. So it had been a while, but I did eat. But it took me a long time to fucking remember.
Oh. At least you remembered and you did eat.
I did.
Steps in the right directions. If anyone is wondering where this specific line was that she's recalling, it was clear back in chapter 4 on page 66. Dane says, this place can warp almost everything about a person, Vi. It cuts away the bullshit and the niceties, revealing whoever you are at your core. They want it that way. They want it to sever your previous bonds so your loyalty is to your wing. It's one of the many reasons the first years aren't allowed to correspond with their family and friends. Otherwise, you know I would have written you. But a year doesn't change that I still think of you as my best friend. I'm still Dane. And this time next year, you will still be Violet. We will still be us.
You done fucked up, Dane.
So would you like to take this first paragraph or the one after? This place cuts away the bullshit and the niceties, revealing whoever you are at your core. Isn't that what you said to me? Is this who you really are at your core? Someone so enamored with rules that he doesn't know when to bend or break them for someone he cares about? Someone so focused on the least I'm capable of doing, he can't believe I can do so much more?
Let's get one thing straight, Dane. The reason we'll never be anything more than friends isn't because of your rules. It's because you have no faith in me. Even now, when I've survived against all odds and bonded not just one dragon, but two, you still think I won't make it. So forgive me, but you're about to be some of the bullshit that this place cuts away from me. Yeah, girl. Yeah,
How come it looks like I'm twirling a mustache?
Yes, I like it.
Did that feel cathartic? Was that?
Yeah, it did. Fuck you, Dane. Fuck you, Dane. That felt good.
I also liked for a bit of writing in between the dialogue there for your part. It says, I take a step closer, but the distance between us only widens.
Yes, I loved that.
These one-liners, Rebecca. Did you see that reel?
I don't think so, but I think we discussed it, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
No, I still haven't seen it. If you find it again, please send it to me.
I already sent it to you.
Yesterday?
Check Instagram right now. It's the guy that played Klaus from the originals.
Rebecca!
It's just like the readers consecutively as they get deeper into any of the books.
I love that. Also, God, I forgot how hot he is. Ugh.
You think?
Yeah.
Mm.
That's a Skarsgård, baby.
Mm-mm.
Uh-huh. I'm pretty sure that's a Skarsgård. Hold on.
Well, I don't think any of them are attractive, so.
Bill. He's my favorite because he looks the weirdest.
Tracks. So while we're in this scene, they have their fight. She makes it out of the tunnel into the courtyard, catches up with the rest of her wing. Jeremiah starts freaking out. And it says, a shadow moves to my left, and a glance tells me Xaden has moved casually, putting himself just ahead of me. So I've been on the hunt, / the watch, / I'm tracking. Anytime Xaden and Dane support Violet, because they showed support in different ways. Xaden supports Violet by always standing by her side. Dane supports Violet by pushing her behind him. They aren't next to each other in this scene. She had walked by him and flipped him off. She's just noticing him out of like her peripheral, so she glances over and sees that he happens to be like a bit ahead of her. A little bit further down this scene, as Riddick stumbles backward on my left, shoved aside, and I don't need to look to know whose muscled arm now brushes my shoulder. So this is the first time Xaden is standing beside her when facing a threat. I should clarify, because sometimes he gets in front of her, but that's when they're like face to face against each other, and that's different than like facing a threat together, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So Xaden now is at 1 for the whole of the book so far, of standing beside to support, whereas Dane has now tried to protect Violet twice. The first time was when Rhiannon surprised him and came out that private room with Tara. He shoved her behind him. The second time was in chapter 16 when Xaden confronts him for making accusations against him at threshing. Mm-hmm. So we're 2-1, Dane protecting Violet in the lead. Did you also find how funny it was that Jeremiah started picking up on Dane's thoughts and just how sad they were?
Yup.
Is Violet gonna hate me forever? Why can't she see that I just want to keep her alive? How is he? He's reading my thoughts. The impression is uncanny, embarrassing, and terrifying. I was like, oh, I would be mortified.
Oh my God, yeah.
I mean, you can't help what other people think of you, but to have that
Broadcast.
Yeah, feels a little violating.
Yeah, it does. It does. And that's why I don't want people to be in my head, because I think a lot of inappropriate shit.
I will say, I was a little miffed that Xaden blocks Jeremiah's mouth before he says what Garrick was thinking. Garrick starts to think, damn it all to hell, he'll know about... Know about what? I want to know.
Oh, see, I assumed he was implying, well, I mean, there's probably more into it that I understand you would want to know more about, because I do too. But yeah, like them meeting and the things that the rebellion children,
The marked ones.
the marked ones, yeah, that they've been meeting in secret and things like that. So but essentially the secrets that Violet already has.
True, but also it's Garrick, and I just want to know more about him in general.
Yeah. Xaden telling Violet, start mentally reciting whatever bookish shit you've learned. Hey, clearly he's doing this because he doesn't want Jeremiah to see his secret that Violet has.
Secret, I got a secret.
But also, like, point, did he pick up on the fact that she does that? Like, that's not something to discuss. What's going on there, Xaden?
True. But I mean, he's also in battle brief with her, so he probably knows just how smart she is just from that. So maybe he's just picking up on, if you're this smart, you're probably bookish.
Fair.
I'm pulling stuff out of my ass. I don't know. That was everything I had for this scene.
That's all you had for this scene? You have no feelings on, like, what comes next in this scene?
In the next scene?
In this scene. I thought you had it in...
Oh, where Carr comes in?
Yeah.
Because this was a reread for me, it was kind of like a Okay, this happens.
Okay, well, I had feelings.
Okay, what were your feelings?
I was very abrupt and a little startling and kind of brutal and sad. Really fucking sad.
Because you can't predict what signet you're gonna get.
Oh, and just, oh God, and just like that, just snapping his fucking neck. No more. Goodbye, Jeremiah. Then fucking Riddick, immediately after, being like, maybe I don't want a signet power after all.
Especially after being jealous at lunch.
Like, you're a silly boy, and I love you, and you're a fucking smart ass without even trying.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Thoughts on Carr, though, his character.
I'm afraid, but this man clearly takes care of business and takes no bullshit, accepts no nonsense, and does what the fuck he has to do. Good for him for that.
Knowing that the writer's quadrant, a lot of people have like different fun colored hair. Is it that it's white because he keeps it that way, or that he's old?
Yeah.
Because if so, is that why his strength was surprising? Or is it? It's not clarified, and I can't remember if we get more of a description on him later or not.
Dang, I will be keeping an eye on him. I am very intrigued. I am just afraid. Not someone I'd want to run into.
Violet getting attacked in her sleep. What do you think about the dream?
It made me kind of sad because dead dad problems will often have dreams about my dad. Although the kind that I have are more like recognizing that he died, but he is somehow now back from the dead and just alive again. I don't necessarily have like dreams about him that are like memory, which this feels like to me. They're always very emotional.
I imagine waking up from them is never fun either.
No, it's pretty rough. Waking up from that kind of dream into this situation would be absolutely fucking terrifying and horrible.
Yeah.
And scarring and traumatizing.
The only note I really had for this section was when Violet notices Oren from threshing. She says, I should have killed you during threshing. Taryn also told you should have killed him. Back in chapter 14, Taryn said, you should end the enemy, who was Oren, at your feet. He would kill you if given the same chance. I'm like, whoa, you foreshadowed it. What'd you think of Andana stopping time?
That was pretty neat. That's a cool trick.
Like, were you able to kind of follow along with that happening? Was it confusing at all?
Yes. No, because whenever in any media things seem to have frozen in place, I always assume someone stopped time. And I think part of that is because of a movie from the early 2000s that I watched a lot. God, I can't remember what the exact title of it is.
But could you tell it was Andarna and not whoever opened the door?
No, that I could not suss out where that was stemming from.
Gotcha. This is also about the part where I texted you, like, before you move on, do you know who the she is? That is just vaguely mentioned running away.
Yeah, and I had theories, and all right. Right. But yeah, I did mark down on page 225 where she says, 3 are unbonded women. I gasp with recognition. Make that to a she in italics, runs for the door and slams it on the way out. I'm like, okay, so it's definitely someone she knows and is shocked by it being. So it's someone we've met who we wouldn't initially assume would do this. So like, it's got to be out of character kind of thing.
The first time I read this, I did not pick up on it, even though Dane brings up the person in this chapter. And I'm just like, don't know. Just gonna keep reading.
That was also part of it. It was like when they had already been discussing Amber and about how Amber like laid into Dane about Violet. Like that seems like maybe you're just a little bit jealous, but also in being so upset at Violet because not only was she upset when it happened and like yelling at Xaden about it, but then to go on further, yell at Dane about it. Like she's clearly like real fucking pissed off, probably more than she should be. So yeah, that was a red flag.
Well, and these are some of the theories that I will bring up when we get to that chapter about maybe why she's such a stickler for the rules. Let's jump into 19 then. So we're still in the middle of this attack. Time becomes unfrozen, and lo and behold, it's Xaden at the door.
Oh.
Immediately, his eyes snap to her where she moved in that time frame of she was in Oren's arms, then suddenly not there anymore. He finds her immediately and then goes and stands at her side. This is Xaden 2 for supporting by standing at her side, to Dane's 2 of protecting her by putting himself in front of her.
A very astute observation, by the way.
Thank you.
You're welcome. One of my favorite parts or like lines in this chapter when Xaden comes in that says Xaden fills the doorway like some kind of dark avenging angel, the messenger of the queen of the gods. I just really loved the imagery of that, especially as it describes his shadows. He's fully dressed, his face a mask of veritable rage as shadows curl from the walls on either side of him, hanging in midair. So like I can definitely see it giving off the appearance of like big black wings. I'm like, that sounds like a pretty boy.
A little bit further down that same page. So Oren immediately is like, Ryerson, and drops his dagger. He's like, you think surrendering will save you? It is against our code to attack another rider in their sleep. This was foreshadowed clear back in chapter 1. Violet is sitting there with Mira, getting her hair did, and Violet is like, except when sleeping, it's an executable offense to attack any cadet while sleeping, Article 3, and then she gets cut off. Xaden will actually end up finishing what article and section this is, and I think it's kind of cute that they finish each other's sandwiches.
Aw, they do.
From conversations that neither of them had together at any point in time.
True.
So, before Xaden comes in and he sees, or I guess before this chapter even technically starts, because he's already opened the door and he's standing there seeing things. He sees Violet's probably already bruising neck, and Oren ended up piercing or nicking her neck and making blood draw. When he starts to attack these cadets, it says Xaden's shadows grab every assailant but Oren by the throat. And you know he's doing this like specifically because that's how they hurt Violet. It seems kind of spiteful, a little bit like maybe he gets upset when she's hurt. Like maybe he's starting to care about her. Because not only that, like, he goes for everybody but Oren, who's the one who like did the damage, to make Oren piss his pants by strangling all of them with shadows.
And just dropping their bodies to the floor.
And then when he does go for Oren, because he drew blood, he slashes his neck. And that's how Oren dies. Tell me you're vengeful without telling me you're vengeful.
The enemies are officially becoming lovers.
Or at least acting on feelings that aren't necessarily just hate.
Heading that way.
One step closer. Especially because we're halfway through this damn book and we haven't gotten anything yet.
I know.
I'm reading into everything.
Yes.
Like, give me some romance.
Yeah. Also, I might have had a moment that made me realize that I need therapy. Xaden says to Oren, she should have killed you in the field, but she's merciful. That's not a flaw I possess. That shouldn't have turned me on.
It's like a dig but a compliment at the same time, you know?
Yeah, but also like...
That was one of my favorites for this section.
Oh, he's gonna hurt you, and that shouldn't turn me on.
It's okay if it's just a paper man.
Yes.
So long as a real man doesn't do that. Then it's like, consent. Oh, red flags.
Yes. I didn't say anything. Anyway.
I find it interesting. So to emphasize my point about how Xaden would have noticed the injuries to her throat immediately, Garrick and Bodhi come in and they do the exact same assessment and instantly see her throat. And so it stands to reason that that's why Xaden chose to dispatch these other cadets in this manner. If Bodhi and Garrick can see it, Xaden would have definitely seen it. Also, I love all of these boys. Like, I don't know how Violet's staying absent throughout this college. Why do they all have to sound so hot?
She has a lot of willpower, more than I have. Also, she's probably a lot less obvious than I am.
I mean, same. I have no chill when I like somebody. It's bad.
Yep. I just turn into an awkward fucking mess. And somehow that has worked in my favor in recent times.
Also, another point to prove that he does not like when Violet gets hurt. Insists on checking her ribs. And when Violet's like, is that a request or a demand? He says, your pick, as long as I get to see if that fucker broke your ribs. His hands curl into fists. And I'm like, A, hot. B, clearly your hands are curling into fists. You angry. Also calling him a fucker for having hurt her when previously he would have been like, I give zero shits about him. If he were to hurt you, it wouldn't bother me. And now he's like calling him names, getting angry. Just tell me you love me already, okay? I also highlighted a line simply because it was a Casper-ism.
I know exactly which one you're talking about.
The line states, not that I wouldn't climb the man like a tree if presented with the right set of circumstances. I'm like, I know I have heard Casper say this on multiple occasions.
Multiple occasions.
Want to hear about my trauma?
You specifically?
Me specifically.
Sure.
I had a fun anecdote about you, and now I'm going to talk about my trauma.
Okay, we love it.
It's called versatility.
Yes, we love the dichotomy.
So they're walking through tunnels after he's put a cloak and boots on her, and he opens a secret passageway, and he says, "Hope you're not afraid of the dark." He pulls me inside, and suffocating darkness envelops us as the door closes. Violet thinks, this is fine. This is absolutely fine. My trauma with this is, for some reason, it reminded me of growing up. I did taekwondo, and we had an event where everybody stayed the night in the building that we had.
Like a lock-in.
Yeah, and there was a bunch of different events happening. So, like, it was co-ed, but also, like, parents and stuff were there. We decided, like, as the kids, to play hide and seek in this building that's very open. There wasn't a lot of places to hide, and there were parents everywhere. But there's this older teenage boy who was playing with us, and he had brought with him to sleep on, like, this fake fur blanket, and he took hide and seek a little too far, and he threw the blanket over my head, threw me over his shoulder, and ran into the men's bathroom with the lights off. And so then when he, like, took the blanket off me immediately, I was disoriented because I didn't know where I was in the dark, in a space I wasn't familiar with. And it freaked me the fuck out. And not only that, but when he threw the fake fur blanket over me, I inhaled some of it. And ever since, I have a thing about, like, fake fur. I can't do it. I instantly feel like my throat is closing. And having had worked retail for a long stint, fake fur is kind of everywhere in retail. In clothes, rugs, mats.
It's real popular.
Yeah. And I could not touch it. And I used to have the coworker who didn't understand my reasoning for not liking it, would chase me around with, like, fake fur stuff on the floor. But I will say, Xaden saves this, because while he's like, hope you're not afraid of the dark, as soon as they are pulled through, he's like, but just in case you are, he turns 8 light on. And I'm just like, bonus points for you for not being a creep.
Yeah.
It was like he was trying to be all big and bad still, and then he was like, actually, I don't know if I can handle her being scared right now, so I'm gonna turn on a light.
So first of all, Xaden says, I'm not going to baby you like Atos does. And, like, just more examples of how he believes in her. Like, he actually fucking believes in her. He doesn't feel like he needs to protect her. He knows she's capable and gives her the fucking chance to prove that. There are several, like, little quips that I'm like, y'all just can't help but make, like, sexual comments and innuendos towards each other. Can ya?
It's very much like, I wouldn't want to be in your bed, but are you thinking about it?
Oh, gosh. Yeah, there are a bunch of them. And, but not the only instance, Violet believing that anyone will believe her about who she saw her room, the girl that got away.
That's my foreshadow moment.
Yeah, and she says, I barely believe it myself. And, like, I feel that. I relate to that a lot. Growing up with a parent who very much treated me and my siblings like we were lying about everything. And to this day tells us that we need to take things that one of my siblings has said with a grain of salt. Like, that's a big trauma that I have of feeling like no one's going to believe me and not being able to believe myself, and, like, my own feelings about things being told over and over again, like, you're being over dramatic and you're too sensitive, like, definitely led to me not being able to trust my own feelings about things. So yeah, like, that, the fact that this is something she has said, like, says multiple times throughout these few chapters is like, damn girl, I feel you.
This is the foreshadow moment that I also have highlighted, but I highlighted that whole little tiny 2-sentence, like, paragraph where it says, I shrug, but don't bother to explain. There's no way he'll believe me. I barely believe it myself. And my note for it is that this makes me so sad. It's internalized dismissal of herself, because Dane and others are constantly dismissing her. But this foreshadows the way Xaden and Dane handle the Amber situation next chapter.
It does.
So now we are in the flight field meeting with the dragons.
Dragon.
Dragons.
Dragon, not lizard. I don't do that tongue thing.
My very first note for this scene is a drink up, baddies. Violet moves between Taryn and Xaden and tilts her chin.
A good coffee.
Hydrate or drink whatever you got nearest you, so long as it's drinkable.
And not chemical.
Right. This is the first in this stretch of chapters, but this is the 14th time it's happened total in the book. And then immediately after that, because she steps in front of Xaden, Xaden moves to her side. And while it's not a threat to Violet, Taryn is a threat to Xaden. And the fact that he steps beside her is like, no, we'll face him together.
Mm-hmm.
So that means Xaden's pulling ahead 3-2 compared to Dane's protective ass.
Hell yeah. Fuck you, Dane. I mean, really just like the balls that Xaden has to like stand up to Dragon Daddy like this. My lord, dude. Like, I'm sure he feels some level of safety because, you know, if Taryn were to kill him, that would hurt Sigale. Tells me he can still like fuck you around a little bit and hurt you.
Before this time, I wish I knew what their relationship was like, because clearly he's had encounters with Taryn before. And in a little bit, once we realize the four of them can talk into each other's brains because of the mating bond, which I love this trope. The mind speak thing, it's my favorite because it allows for so much, like, imagine all the dirty talk you can have in the presence of other people and no one would know unless you physically reacted. There are some prime opportunities with this ability.
And this is why no one should be able to read my mind, because I can't control my facial expressions. That's a prime example.
But it feels like there's history between Xaden and Taryn.
It does.
I want to know, like, could they talk before Violet bonded Taryn? Or is it not until Violet bonded Taryn that they could start talking?
Oh, that's a good question.
Or was it like a Taryn would talk to Sigale and Sigale would relay it to Xaden kind of a thing?
That's a good question. Yeah.
I want to
know more. The only real notes that I have are like, oh my god, there's so much lore. Like, I've underlined so much shit. And I just fucking, oh my god. I love it. Give me all the information.
When Sigale talks and she's like, let her explain. It says, Sigale urges, clicking her talons like nails on the ground. I was like, you know Sigale would be that baddie who always has acrylics on. She got claws all day, every day.
All day.
Just like tapping her claws. Thoughts on Andarna being a feathertail and what?
I definitely could have guessed that she was a child. Like, I mean, I was pretty much picking up on that already. But like the confirmation of like, she's a baby. And also her being like, oh, I'm not a hatchling. I'm two.
And
so
Sawyer
adorable.
even kind of guesses almost. He's like, maybe it's a baby orange?
Yeah, yeah. So the fact that she's still a baby, Taryn says, I'm not sure anyone lets Andarna do anything. Like, oh my god, yeah.
She's sassy.
We love a strong, independent dragon.
A strong, independent toddler.
Yeah. A very strong-willed child. Hell yeah. I had also kind of wondered if Andarna was their child. And I love that in a way she is, because they've kind of like adopted her.
Yeah.
It's so freaking sweet. First of all, Sigale sass being like, do you think I'd let my offspring bond while still feathered? Like,
the hurt in Xaden's voice too when he's like, you hid this from me? Tell me you got mommy issues without telling me you got mommy issues.
But then Taryn says her parents passed before hatching. So in the book it says, I have lots of elders, she responds, as though that makes up for it. But having lost my dad, I know it doesn't. Like, that was another one of the bits that I was like, yep, that is her.
This section came for your throat.
Did. Like, that was real fucking relatable. Look, we know I have daddy issues. I cannot tell you how, like, train of thought, where are you going? Where did you come from?
Where did you go? Where did you come from, Cotton Eye Joe? I've
definitely like looked for father figures in other people, not necessarily the people I date.
I wasn't gonna say nothing.
I'm not, and I don't mean you. I mean, like, I know y'all are sitting out there thinking like, oh yeah, you have daddy issues, you date older men, whatever. No, I don't. I like, having since lost my father, I have found like pseudo father figures in other people. Like, your dad has always been somewhat of a father figure to me, and that definitely kind of like strengthened after I lost my dad. Or like, my former father-in-law was very much a father figure for me. I mean, obviously.
I just realized the mug you're using is the one that my dad got all of us.
Yeah, it is.
It's so cute. It's so on theme.
My father figures. Yeah. My pseudo dad got me a hocus pocus mug.
Hocus pocus.
Even having those like parental figures, it doesn't make up for like losing that parent or both parents, you know?
It never quite fills the gap, but it can build structural support around the whole.
That's a very good analogy.
Xaden's processing out loud, essentially. And it says, if leadership knew writers could take her gifts for themselves rather than depending on their own signets. Violet says, she'd be hunted. I finished quietly. I'm like, aw, they finish each other's sandwiches.
That's so cute.
It shows, too, that, like, Xaden is a thinker. And the fact, like, if Violet is so smart and Xaden's able to keep up and they're both, like, on the same wavelength, I think he's smarter than he lets on. It's not as much of a quirk for him as an asset that I think he kind of keeps buried. But Xaden's also the type that just hides everything, it feels like.
At the very end of the chapter, she once again reinforces, I barely believe it myself. It's just like, girl, I feel you, but have some confidence.
Yeah. And even Zayden's line of like, we've got to start trusting each other sometime. Chapter 20, it's the next morning at formation. I adore Second Squad. I had to point out, because finally, Violet acknowledges her feelings. It says, specifically, oh shit, this feeling right here, the way my breath catches and my entire body draws tight when he's near, is why I haven't taken anyone to bed or celebrated like the rest of my perfectly normal friends. This feeling is why I haven't wanted anyone else, because I want him. And I wiggle.
Yeah, that was my first note. Oh my god, she finally admitted it to herself. So, I mean, now it's out there. So, please follow her.
Right? So at this point, I feel like it's almost foreplay for Violet and Xaden to make a scene in front of other people, because he switches Liam, precious baby boy Liam, into Second Squad. And I highlighted here, am I out of line speaking to a wing leader that way? Absolutely. Do I care? Not one bit. And then she reiterates, I do not need a bodyguard. I repeat, a little louder this time. I could give two fucks who hears me. The entire world just falls away whenever these two are around each other.
Mm-hmm.
And while very juicy and steamy, I'm kind of like, but don't act like you don't also enjoy it. Like,
come on now, y'all. My note was just, oh, she ballsy.
Which is funny because that's what she called Xaden in the last chapter.
Yeah. Yeah. The line, Imogen snorts. Good luck with that approach. I'm like, okay, Imogen. I'm like, damn, Imogen's sassy too. I think I like her. I think we would be friends.
I think you'd want to be more than friends.
I think that I would be more than friends. Like a strong woman, she got pink hair.
I should start sending you safe fan art.
You can send the unsafe stuff, it's fine.
No, not like sexy time safe, like non-spoilery.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fine.
I will also send that too.
Love when I don't have to search for Rule 34 myself.
A little bit after that, actually the next paragraph, I had some foreshadowing that leads up to this, and I think it's foreshadowing I've brought up before. I can't be everywhere you are, but Liam here, he's a first year, so he can be in every class, at every challenge, and I even had him assigned to library duty, so I hope you get used to him, Sorengale. In chapter 4, in the rotunda, Dane says, and I quote, I'll see if one of the second years can stand guard. Just another little parallel that Dane and Xaden aren't too dissimilar. They just happen to go about things differently. Maybe it's age and Xaden's just maybe slightly more mature. But let's just say Violet has a type.
Yeah. I wouldn't know anything about that.
Biggest lie ever done heard.
What are you talking about?
Oh, please.
I'm a truther. I'm a truther. I don't tell lies.
Mm-hmm. Violet mentions that he's overstepping, and he says, any threat against you is a threat against me, and as we've already established, I have more important things to do than sleep on your floor. My note is, have you considered sleeping in her bed?
God, I love you.
You know, a suggestion.
Because that's exactly where my brain went too. I'm like, who said you had to sleep on the floor? Just another instance where she points out, you wouldn't believe me even if I did. Rhiannon says, someone's in trouble. I think Riddick finally got caught in Tyvon Varen's bed. And I was like, excuse me? It's my boy. A little bit gay.
More than a little.
Yeah. I love it. We love the representation.
I'm pretty sure, well, I don't think Rebecca's ever stated, but of any of them, I think he would be more pan.
I was going to say, I wondered if he's like pan or bisexual because he also, like a little bit further after their Violet's like, I miss sex.
Yeah, that's my favorite from this.
Yeah, and Riddick says, if you're looking for a little fun, I'm happy to oblige. I'm like, okay, so maybe he likes them all.
Mm-hmm.
In which case, hell yeah, even better. I love that. And that's my boy.
I had something about Dane. So he finally notices the marks on her throat. He's like, I didn't know. Why didn't you tell me? And her inner monologue is, because you wouldn't believe me even if I did. And I was like, that internalized dismissal and the reasoning for it right there, Dane. Mm-hmm. So with Tyvon Varen, it said that he is the executive officer for Second Wing. So with the wing structure, every leader has an executive officer. This could be read two different ways. The executive officer for Second Wing just means he could be a executive officer within that wing. So I think Tyvon Varen is a third year, actually. They do go consecutively. Squad leaders like Dane are only second years, and so are their executive officers. Then there's section leaders. Those are third years, as well as the wing leader and then his executive officer. So I was confused about where this would place Tyvon Varen, but I'm assuming he's a third year and is the executive officer to the wing leader of second wing. Is that how you would take it? Did I confuse you?
Look, I still need to look at that diagram you made to make sense of it all, so
Have you looked at that at all?
I have.
Oh.
I have it pulled up right now. And I'm just like, yeah, that looks right. Yep. Okay.
I'm assuming. Don't quote me.
I'll believe it.
But that would mean it's the second highest rank to a wing leader if he is a third year and the executive officer to that wing leader. And I just find it so funny that this conversation is happening within earshot of Dane, because Dane did this exact same thing with Amber Mavis.
Even though he's so staunchly against it now.
And then on top of that, the conversation you had that I'm going to bring up again in the favorites because it deserves it. When Violet's talking about sex and she's like, I miss good sex. And this is all in front of Dane, who's just like overstimulated.
Yep.
This is where Xaden is up at the dais now, and he's talking about how trying to attack a rider in their sleep is a violation of Article 3, Section 2 of the Dragon Riders Codex, and in addition to being dishonorable, is a capital offense. Kind of hypocritical of you now, Amber.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nadine, one of the newer squad members, makes a comment about how Garrick and Bodhi are both tears as well, and Violet looks back and pins her with a glare. But Liam keeps his eyes forward, and I'm just like, this is a great little show of Violet compassion towards marked ones, but also Liam's character in this moment, because he's directly in front of Nadine and she's saying this shit. And he's just like, eyes
Let it
forward,
go.
it doesn't bug me. Yeah.
Yeah, I had as a standout section as well of her, like another instance of her kind of like sticking up for them. Like she's definitely warming to them.
Mm-hmm. And I love that, especially I love when people grow outside of what they were taught. And I think it's something that's incredibly hard to do. And Violet as a character seems to ebb and flow very naturally to me in a way that just, it aligns with how I maneuver and go through life. And so it's refreshing to me, because some people are a little bit more stubborn in believing what they were taught to be. And so this is nice to see, like, I don't agree with how people are treating these people. So they call out wing leader Amber Mavis.
I fucking called it.
And Dane instantly is like, what the hell? I highlighted, my chest tightens. Gods, I hate it when Dane proves me right. I'm just like, and then Rhiannon reaches for her hand and squeezes it tight in support. And I was just like, what I would give to be half the person Rhiannon is. She just says she's too good for the world.
She's a sweet, precious baby angel. And
Nothing bad can happen to her.
Yeah, you hear that, Rebecca?
Immediately after that, Riddick is clearly in the same boat as Rhiannon and Violet. Hence why I love them. But he says over his shoulder, she's a tier 2, Nadine, or are you only biased against marked ones? Because I guess Amber Mavis is tierish, but her family didn't join the rebellion, so she didn't get a rebellion relic. And this is what makes me wonder if this is why Amber is such a stickler for the rules, because she so desperately doesn't want to be clumped in with the marked ones, seeing how much like hatred they get for what their parents did. I can see her clinging to the rules as a way to be like, but I'm not like them. I'm like one of you. I'm Navarian.
Yeah, I can see that. I'm with you there.
Whereas Dane, it's more of a personality / drilled into him because his dad is aide to General Soren Gale and he grew up with the Kool-Aid.
But you know what? So did fucking Violet.
I had never thought of that before until now. And I was like, oh, damn it. Now I kind of feel bad for Amber.
No. Can we talk about how much Dane pissed me off?
Yes.
Okay, good. Fuck him. Fuck Dane. Shut the fuck up, Dane. I fucking hate you, Dane. Dane, you fucking suck. He immediately starts questioning Xaden, despite the fact that, like, everyone here is well aware how serious it is to make an accusation against a wing leader. So he's not exactly going to take that lightly, and just immediately goes to Amber's defense, like, fuck Violet and everything she has to say. Yeah, it basically, like, halfway through the page, just this whole little section where Dane says, Amber would never, a wing leader would never. He turns completely to face me. Get up there and tell everyone that he's lying, Vi. But he's not, I say as gently as I can. It's impossible. His cheeks flush a mottled shade of red. I was there, Dane. The reality of his disbelief hurts so much more than I expected, like a blow to my already battered ribs. Like, best friend. lifelong best friend, and you think she's just fucking lying? Like, I have so very few words that are not just angry. Can you hate him? I want to hit him.
I also had, continuing on with that, he's like, wing leaders are beyond reproach. Violet responds, then why are you so quick to call our own wing leader a liar? My brows rise in challenge, daring him to say what he's so careful to keep quiet. And while it doesn't expand on this, I think it's that he's biased against marked ones. Because that's what this entire chapter has led up to, like with Nadine and constant general Navarian hatred of marked ones. I wouldn't be surprised at all if he was also very biased against the marked ones.
Yep, I wouldn't either. I mean, he hasn't shown anything to the contrary far, like...
And as soon as Amber says one sentence, all she says is, I have committed no such crime, he instantly is like, see? Like, you're not looking for proof? Why? You would be looking for proof if it was Xaden.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And then he does most anger-inducing fucking thing he could possibly do. And he tries to read Violet's memory
To
of that
take
night.
them.
To take it. Like, he lifts his hands as though ready to cut my face. Let me see. Also, how have I forgotten that his signet allows him to see others' memories? That's a good question. How did you forget that, huh?
It's been a month and they haven't talked.
I guess, but like, with how amazed she was about it and how like impressed she was with it, you wouldn't think that that's something that you would forget. I don't know.
I mean, they're also have been very touchy-feely, and that's something he used to do to her before the quadrant, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I can see that. That's fair. Oh, but then the very last line on the page, give me the memory, he orders. Oh my God. In my notes, I put, don't you fucking touch her.
And the fact that he's so enraged, his signet is supposed to be a secret, and he's out here blatantly yelling, like, give me the memory. Speaking of, that's the first time he's tried in this section of chapters, but the 7th time overall that he's attempted face touching.
Yeah.
Also, immediately after he says, give me the memory, indignation lifts my chin. Drink up, baddies. That's the 2nd time it's happened so far this stretch of chapters, and the 15th time overall. Xaden says, wing leaders, we need a quorum. And I was like, this sounds familiar. So I looked it up, and back in chapter 4, after Dane and Violet gets caught leaving the rotunda, Violet's like to Dane, he can't hurt you without cause, right? Without cause and calling a quorum of wing leaders because you're a squad leader. Article 4, Section 3. And I'm like, I see you, foreshadowing needing to call a quorum because Amber is a wing leader. This is where the squad comes in. Sawyer says, shit's about to get real. Breaking formation to stand at my side, and I feel Riddick at my back. And a little bit later down on this page, after receiving the memories, Rhiannon sees that spineless wretch, her hand squeezing mine even tighter. So she's got a member of her squad on almost all sides of her, but nobody standing in front of her. And it's like the amount of support that they all show each other. My note literally says, imagine where I could be if I had this kind of support.
Right?
It's so sweet. They are my favorite.
Yep, I had all of that as well. It's like, yeah, that was my big like theme of really like this chapter and 21 of just like, plus all the banter that they've had throughout these 2 chapters. It's just like the group being them and being friends and loving each other and supporting each other and having fun and just giving me that chosen family that I so desperately love.
Amber's like, you're using this to get your revenge on my family for not supporting your father's rebellion. You do know that deflecting and getting defensive are sure signs of guilt. Not helping your cause.
Nope.
And then it says, he isn't demanding proof like Dane. He believes me, and he's ready to execute a wing leader on nothing more than my word. As surely as if there's a physical structure, I feel my defenses crack on Xaden's behalf. And I was just like, this man, what a man. What a real man. A real paper man. I need help. I need therapy.
What a man. Yeah, no, yeah. Okay.
My joke was funnier.
Yeah. It's fine. I'm used to it.
This is an episode where we're ragging on each other.
It's because we love each other. I had that section highlighted too because I'm just like, proof that Xaden is so much better than Dane.
Yes. I was like, this is where they differ. They have a lot of similarities, but this is
an important like area where they differ in the like trusting and believing in Violet, which Dane so clearly does fucking not.
I had a bit of foreshadowing that led up to this line. So back in chapter 2, when Violet crosses the parapet and Jack Barlow is being Jack Barlow. The person, I think, with the crossbow is like, then you get to meet the dragons early. We don't wait for trials around here. We just execute. And then in this chapter, Naira says, and as is our law, your sentence will be carried out by fire. And I was like, so that wasn't just a throwaway line back in chapter 2. Got it.
This part really makes me like love Violet even more. So they find Amber guilty, you know, they let her know your sentence will be carried out by fire. And immediately like Violet feels bad for Amber's dragon. Not for Amber, because she fucking shouldn't, but for her dragon. Like having that empathy for her dragon of recognizing like this wasn't your fault, like you didn't choose this, and this is going to really hurt you. Is I need to. Oh. But then also freaking Violet like pleading with Taryn not to execute her and thinking to herself, maybe I could talk to Amber. Maybe we can still work through our issues. Like, girl, she tried to have you killed. I don't think there's any talking through that. You're just gonna give her another chance to try again. Ugh, but what a sweetheart, eh?
Hey, are you Canadian now from watching Degrassi? Taryn's response to Violet pleading is, I let someone live once, and he almost killed you last night, Silver One. And while this is said gently, it feels almost a little bit like Grump Dad kind of being like, I told you, should have ended him, and I'm gonna do it for you. Tough love, baby cakes. Let's jump into chapter 20.
Last chapter.
Yeah.
We got this.
So, in this chapter, it's a week later, and Liam is with Violet on archives duty.
I love him.
I do too. I usually hate blonde male characters, but Rebecca made me love Liam. He's just so perfect. He's just a little babby. A tall babby, actually. I think Violet at one point has to look up at him. A big, strong babby.
Big, strong baby boy. Violet says, it's not that she thinks, whatever. It says, it's not that I don't like him. To my absolute annoyance, he's actually nice, courteous, funny, and ridiculously helpful. He makes it difficult to loathe his constant presence, even though he leaves wood shavings in little piles everywhere he goes, which is everywhere I go now. The guy is constantly whittling with that smaller knife of his. Yesterday, he finished the figurine of a bear. What a cutie pie. Oh my god. My god.
I'm just imagining like little piles of wood behind him everywhere he goes.
Oh my gosh. I just love, I love Liam.
And he has dimples. Freaking love dimples. So cute.
Just kind of another like instance of Violet having empathy for the marked ones and like noticing things. It says, maybe it's just that I haven't been around marked ones before Basgaiath, but the outright hostility toward them is becoming glaringly, uncomfortably obvious to me. Like, she's waking up, she's seeing shit, she's understanding, like, this isn't right. And I think that is going to help her to realize that, like, there is more going on.
Agreed. Violet asks, how do you do that? In a hushed whisper. Handle when people are that rude without reacting. And he's like, you're rude to me all the time. He handles everything with such, like, grace. The kind of flirt that, like, is so respectful yet is still flirty. And it's such a fine balance of being able to flirt with someone without getting the ick from them, it feels like. And Liam's just, maybe he's just a huge player. I don't know. But he just seems so smooth and so perfect, and he takes everything with like humility for the most part. And I'm just like,
love him.
I love him. Violet says, you actually know him, don't you? I crane my neck to look up at him. Drink up, baddie. This is the final chin lift of this section. So that makes 3 total. But then for the entirety of the book so far, we're at 16.
Doesn't help that she's fucking short.
Right? I mean, that's kind of my point. Because we're the same height. A whole whopping 5'2" when I round up. And so
you're also fucking short.
I'm always doing that to people.
You just trying to see my face? Like, how's it going
I
down there?
never know what the top of people's heads look like.
I never considered that.
Or like counter spaces. If I walk up to them, they come up to like my belly button, not to my hip, like other people.
You poor little thing.
'Tis how I was made, but if Xaden can find it attractive in Violet. Immediately after the craning of the neck, I highlighted the word shadow. I think it's funny because Violet starts to call Liam her shadow, which I know is another word for bodyguard, but also Xaden is making him Shadow, and Xaden's signet is Shadow. It was all too perfect.
Okay. I just wanted to point out again that like Liam already loved him. And then he starts flirting with Justinia. In signs, so like boy signs. He's perfect. He's so perfect. Why is he so perfect? I love him.
I should have sent you a clip of the voice actor that does. So anytime they're signing, there's like an echo to indicate that it's non-verbal communication. And when he's like, good morning, there's like a lot of like gravitas to it within the echo. And I was like, oh, I should have sent that to Cass.
Yeah, you should have.
I'll do it later.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And I love how defensive Violet is of Justinia, because Liam is very much a rider and doesn't necessarily understand that maybe people don't fuck like rabbits in other quadrants like they do in the riders. And so the whole like her just like smacking his chest, like, stop it. It kind of gave me mom vibes.
Yes. Or like older sister vibes.
Yeah.
Like, don't flirt with my friends kind of.
It was cute.
Yes. Oh, I love the squad.
Mm-hmm. They're like the perfect found family. Violet's like, what did you want to be when you grew up? He's just like, alive. I was like, oh, my heart, but also funny.
Yes. Like, goddamn. I love dark humor, and that was a good one.
That was a good one.
A little bit before that, Liam says, I've seen you practicing this week with those blades of yours, Sorengale. Ryerson was right. You would have been wasted as a scribe. But not just he talks about her, like, he's like bragging about her. Like, oh, she would have been wasted as a scribe. Like, you like her. You want to kiss her and want to hold her.
I wonder how much of that is Liam trying to talk Xaden up and how much of that is like what Xaden actually said, since this is a second hand.
I choose to believe it is genuine.
I also choose to believe, but I had to throw that out there.
You burst my bubble.
Only sometimes. I love Violet. Like, personality-wise, I feel the most seen with Violet. Violet is my favorite female main character in a book. In this moment, my girl takes a major L when talking to Liam and essentially trying to discredit him when he would be the person who knows about how his parents died. She's like, no, that's not right. That's not what I read. I'm just like, girl, shut up.
Yeah, open mouth, insert foot.
Yes. I literally wrote foot, meet, mouth.
Yep.
Like, I get you're just verbally processing, scanning through your mind palace of everything you've read regarding the rebellion. But maybe, I don't know, have some care because the person you're talking to literally watched his parents be executed. And you're trying to tell him that it didn't happen.
Like, girl forgot all about tact.
But that was in response to, I get the distinct feeling he's over this conversation. I wonder why.
Yeah, come on now. I just really love all the lore it's giving about, like, the marked ones and, like, why Liam believes they're all, like, forcibly conscripted into the Writers' Quadrant, which Violet seemed to not have realized, but I thought she did. So I was a little confused.
Yes, this is something I was confused on as well for a long time, but I believe I understand now.
Because, yeah, so I'm wondering if maybe I was just, like, I got the impression and had it in my head that, like, yeah, they all go to the Writers' Quadrant.
Well, it's something that's specifically mentioned twice in Violet's presence. Once, when Mira is taking Violet to the Writers' Quadrant, she explains about conscription and that marked ones are conscripted into the Writers' Quadrant. Then, again, when Imogen pulls her arm out of her socket and Nolan is mending her, but she's already taken the serum, and so he's going on and on about how he's never agreed with why marked ones are forced into the Writers' Quadrant, but she's
not fully
present. I believe she explains it as, I know that the children of the leaders, the officers, were all forced into conscription, but that's all. A lot of those treaty addenda are classified. So she knew that they were forced into conscription, but she thought they could choose quadrants. Classified addenda that apparently she wasn't able to read. Then states further that no, they have to be in the Writers' Quadrant. So yeah, it's confusing. There are moments I think that Rebecca specifically put them in for the reader to try to pick up on before now, for like the eagle-eyed reader. But I can see how it's confusing. I was definitely confused on it.
One of the things I didn't quite understand is they're talking about, 68 of the officers had kids under the age of 20. There are 107 of us, all who carry rebellion relics, and the youngest is almost 6 now. Her name is Julianne. And Violet says, I think I'm going to be sick. Is she marked? She was born with it. So how the hell does that work?
Spoilers.
Okay, I'll accept that.
What we know, because in the next line it says, I understand it was done by Dragon. That's all anybody knows at this point in time in the book. Otherwise, I would say more.
Alrighty, that seems really cruel.
You have to ponder for longer.
No, not the ponder.
Oh, you mean that she was born with it is cruel, not you having to not know right now. Got it.
I mean, both.
I thought you were like, it's cruel of you to not tell me.
Nah, I guess not.
So Liam's talking to Violet about Xaden and how they were fostered together. And he says, I've never seen anyone move the way he does. He's the only reason I made it through the first round of challenges. He might not show it, but he takes care of his own. And I put, this is one of the traits I love most about Xaden. It's also a very Dan thing, so maybe that's why I love it. Dan, personality-wise, is very Xaden-coded. And then she's like, are you trying to sell me on his finer points? And my comment was, I'm sold. You don't gotta tell me no more. I'm ready.
Bought and paid for.
I also really loved the line in this same paragraph of, are you trying to sell me on his finer points? It says, I note with some satisfaction that my legs feel strong today. I love the days when my body cooperates. And even though I don't suffer from chronic illness, especially not something as life-altering as EDS can be, I was like, I know this feeling. And it's such a telling sentence, especially because it's not something that Violet herself focuses on. A lot of people focus on her weakness, but she doesn't. And so I love that on days when she feels strong, that's what she focuses on. And I just thought that was a really cool outlook to have. This is where I had questions this go around. So it says, how can you do this anyway? Guard someone whose own mother oversaw the wing that captured yours. So many marked ones blame Lilith, and they say explicitly, she executed my parents. And so I had thought that Lilith was actually the one responsible for the execution of several people's parents. But I believe not only in this scene, but Xaden on the parapet, Nolan when describing the marked ones being forced into the writer's quadrant and not understanding being judged by the sins of a parent. And then Garrick, when they were under the tree in chapter 7, they all specifically say that she captured. And so I think a lot of the marked ones that say that she executed them are putting the blame on her for having caught them. She didn't actually execute them. I believe that was Melgren's dragon.
Okay, makes sense.
But it was something that I wasn't sure on until this read.
Fair.
Is it something that you understood right away?
No.
Okay.
Because, yeah, it was something that, like, I guess I hadn't put a whole lot of thought into, but it definitely wasn't clear to me, like, how literally it was meant that, like, she executed these people, or that she was, like, she's responsible for their deaths in a broader sense, or, like, she straight up was the one who executed people.
I believe that she just captured, and therefore, in that sense, is responsible.
Immense, incredible hunger strikes, my stomach gnawing on emptiness that demands to be appeased with the blood of, and it's cut off. And then Violet says, Taryn's awake. And just, I love how Rebecca Yarros, like, illustrated that connection between them and how strong it is that, yeah, that their bond, that she feels his, like, emotions and, like, needs and his feelings as strongly as if they were her own. I just thought, like, that's great. And also, like, having that thought in your head of that, like, feral hunger, like, oh, that would be kind of scary.
We have another scalp prickle. It's the final one of this set of chapters. This is the second time it's happened in this set, but overall we've had 12 scalp prickles. Still not as much as Violet lifting her chin in defiance, but pretty close. There's a lot of good banter in Battle Brief.
Yeah, like, basically all of page 260 is like, I love this. I love this dynamic. They're fantastic. This is hilarious. Like, so many good lines. So many good lines. It says, it has to be. Indulging the impulse it gives me, that's asinine. Asinine is, like, one of my favorite words. I use that word a lot, and I like it. And I just had a little bit of a moment that was like, it tickled my brain.
I fumble my quill, and it falls to the ground, but before I can lean over, the shadows beneath my arm of my desk lift the instrument like an offering. I pluck it out of the shadows and look back at Xaden. He's locked in conversation with Garrick, not paying me a speck of attention, except, apparently, he is. I'm like, yeah, he is.
This is a little gentleman.
I just wrote, this is so fucking cute. Like, cuter than it has any right to be. Because it just shows that he's, like, aware of her. And, like, even when he's not actively showing that he's paying attention to her, that he's always paying attention to her.
So I have a question. I want your opinion. So we find out here that Xaden put a ward on Violet's door to protect her. And Violet thinks of this, it's more than slightly controlling and way out of line, but also sweet. Do you feel like it's controlling and out of line?
I mean, it's keeping everybody but Violet and him, if he were to ever enter her room, out. So a little bit, it's like regulating who she gets to take into her bedroom.
It's true.
But also knowing that people have tried to kill her at night. That's where I'm like, well, I see how you can make that jump into thinking this is a safety precaution.
Mm-hmm.
Also, there's an extra bit to it that might change that answer that you don't know yet.
Okay. Interesting.
I think, if I remember correctly.
He's the only one who can, like, because he's the one who put the ward up, means he's the only one other than Violet who's able to get in.
Theoretically. Look, I gotta get some sort of joy out of being able to lord information over you.
I mean, I guess. Do you have to take so much pleasure in it?
Yes, I do. It's a requirement. It was in the fine print. You didn't read that when you agreed to join the podcast? The end of the chapter is mostly just Violet being like, are you sure they're not going to talk about the scroll? And then they don't. And it's just a lot of her being like, yeah, it must have been classified, or it just wasn't marked, or I just missed it.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, that's it.
Yeah, no, I wrote in my notes, something's fishy. Something wicked this way coming.
Alrighty. Ready to get into favorite moments, quotes, and predictions? I have a feeling this one's going to be a doozy.
Gonna be a lot of them.
So, chapter 18. I favorited all of the lines of Sawyer being scared of his fork. First, Sawyer counters, shaking his head, staring at his fork with a hefty dose of fear. And you wouldn't be so excited if it meant you weren't sure if your fork would stab you into the roof of your mouth because you can't control it yet.
Poor boy.
Riddick, when they find out about the possible combustion that students can have if they don't manifest within a certain amount of time after channeling, Riddick's like, fuck me, it's always something around here. So then Sawyer's like, feeling a little luckier now, still staring at his fork. And Violet's like, we'll get you some wooden utensils.
So cute. Oh my gosh.
My note was just, aw, buddy.
Oh, buddy.
Buddy.
So Violet says, in reference to Xaden, you know how much that ass annoys me. And Taryn responds, annoys you? Taryn chuckles above me, the sound like a chuffing cat. Is that what you call it when your heart rate? And gets cut off. I'm like, I love that he's teasing her about, like, clearly he sees what's going on here. Like, he knows.
It's a dad move to give your child grief about their crush.
Yes, it is. And I love it.
A little bit before that, she's like, eventually you could call me Violet, you know. He's like, I know. And I could call you Violence like the wing leader. You wouldn't dare.
Yeah. They're so cute. I love their dynamic.
A little bit before that one, like the very beginning of this next scene, it's like, you only fell about a dozen times that trip. It's like, I can't tell if that's a compliment or not. And he's like, take it as you wish.
Yeah.
So sassy.
Sassy dragon man.
Violet blatantly whines. I'm always stuck with your grumpy ass.
Yeah, I
and
know
like,
too.
this grumpy ass just caught you a dozen times, Silver One.
Oh, yeah. I just tell him if he harms you, I'll scorch the ground where he stands. Yeah, I love that Taryn is on team anti-Dane.
I
Like,
thought you might.
yes, that's my God. That's my God. Good dad right there. It was the someone so focused on the least I'm capable of doing, he can't believe I can do so much more. Like, you tell him, girl. Xaden fills the doorway like some kind of dark avenging Abel. That one was mine.
I really liked when Xaden said, dragons don't make mistakes, because it felt very much like you were so pissed off that Taryn chose Violet, and now you're like, dragons don't make mistakes. It's almost like you're accepting, for lack of a better word, the bond between the four of them. And it was cute.
You were cute.
And then I think you said one of the other ones I liked, 28, she should have killed you in the field, but she's merciful. Okay, this is one of my favorite things that book boyfriends do. It says, his fingers are warm under my chin as he tilts my head up so our gazes collide. I didn't count that one as a tilt because someone was doing it for her. But I don't know, I love that little action. It's very sweet.
Yeah. It's really sweet.
When he's getting angry about Violet being hurt, it says, his gaze shifts to my throat and narrows at what I imagine has to be the purple imprint of a hand. I should have killed him slower. That line does things to me it shouldn't.
Right? In this edition of That Shouldn't Turn Me On.
I wrote, I'm in love. My goodness. With the corset. They're in front of like a full-length mirror, so like to catch eyes. And so like to clear his mind after raw hunger flitters across his expression, he's like, how the hell do you get yourself into this thing every morning? Her response, I'm freakishly flexible. It's part of the whole bone snapping, joints tearing thing. And I'm like, you? No, this man's mind had a plethora of dirty things run through it as soon as he heard that.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, he's clearly trying to maintain composure and you were not helping.
Like, they are so obviously both so down bad for each other. Like, just give in to it, y'all. Come on. You're halfway there already.
And we're halfway through the book.
Yeah, so let's go. Spicy already.
Get Played.
Mine as well. Actually, and it's a two-parter. Then he robs me of every logical thought by putting on my boots and lacing them one at a time. And a couple paragraphs down, he wraps my cloak around my shoulders and buttons it at my collar like I'm something precious.
Yeah, that one was one of mine too.
Just like, oh, beautiful. But like the
Tenderness.
yes, and like the acts of service of like, I'm going to care for you, I'm going to do this thing for you, is just like, it's one of the things I find so freaking sweet.
That's a heart melter right there.
It is. Not that I wouldn't climb that man like a tree.
Having one of my favors is more than enough, and we've already reached mutually assured destruction status, Sorengale. And Darna being freaking adorable. And Darna says, nature likes all things in balance. And then Darna says, like she's reciting facts, just like I do when I'm nervous. I'm like, oh, they're twins.
That's your baby.
And then Darna's like, that's the first thing we're taught. Well, not the first thing. The first thing is we shouldn't bond until we're full grown. Or maybe the first is where the sheep are. I like goats better, though.
Like, very clearly, like, oh, that's a baby. That's a baby.
It's odd to imagine Xaden ever not being in control. Hell, I'd pay good money to see him lose it. To be the one he lost it with. Oh, I shut that thought down immediately.
So, down. Bad.
Yeah.
Xaden says, promise me you won't tell anyone about the time stopping. It's not just for your safety. Rare abilities, when kept secret, are the most valuable form of currency we possess. Like, that's just really powerful.
Chapter 20. Violet thinks, either I have kick-ass compartmentalization skills, or I really am acclimating to always being a target. I was like, bets on which one it is? I am betting on acclimating.
I don't know, though. I don't know.
I'll just say mine real quick because you already said it, but I would be remiss not to mention that I miss sex. If you're looking for a little fun, I'm happy to oblige. I miss good sex. It's made even better that Dane is having to listen to it. Just
yes.
Probably kicking himself like, God damn it.
Yes, fuck you, Dane. My other favorite line on this page, kind of in betwixt that, after it says, I miss sex, she thinks, I really do, and it's not just the physical gratification either. There's a sense of connection in those moments that I crave, a momentary banishment of loneliness. The first is something I'm sure Xaden would be more than capable of providing if he ever thought of me that way. Yeah, you know he can. Oh.
And also you're a little delulu to think that he doesn't already think of you that way.
Yeah, honestly, like, come on, girl.
Have you
we
seen
just
you?
had this... Especially after they had already shared the freaking moment within the mirror and the corset and being down bad for each other. Come on, pick up the signals. Violet says, touch me without permission and you'll spend the rest of your life regretting it. Girl.
You tell him.
Yeah. Like, not just like standing up to him, be like, but like, I will physically fucking fight you, my dude. It's like knowing she's got Taryn to back her up and that Taryn will like fry that motherfucker in a heartbeat. So the first one is justice is not always merciful. Again, just like a very powerful line and sentiment. And then the very last line in this chapter. A gruesome scream rends the air, shattering a window in the academic wing, and every rider slams their hands over their ears as Clyde mourns. My heart broke. The poor dragon. He didn't deserve that. It's not his fault. Ugh.
Unless he encouraged her. We will
That's
never
true.
know.
I guess we don't know that he didn't. Maybe he does deserve it. I need more information.
True.
Before I pass
All
judgment.
I know is he's orange.
He's orange boy. I love orange boys. I got two of them. They're
think it's
basically
funny.
dragons.
Because orange dragons are the most chaotic, like the most unpredictable.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, it tracks that you have two orange cats.
They're little chaos gremlins.
Ready to move to chapter 21. So this is Liam being his flirty self. After Violet's like, you actually know him. He's like, just now catching on, huh? I would have told you that on the first day if you hadn't been so busy huffing and puffing about the pleasure of my company. I was like, stop, you're so cute.
Someone should know. Someone should remember. Oh my God, that one hurt. That one hurt my heart a little bit. Like, I mean, you're right. Like, someone should know. Someone should remember. Like, it's one thing to lose something in someone and then memories being the only thing you have, especially when it comes to, like, tragic historical events. It is so important to keep those memories and those stories alive.
Liam's like, so Taryn hasn't channeled to you either, right? Violet says, I think he has commitment issues. Taryn says, I heard that. Violet, then stay out of my head. Another wave of paralyzing hunger assaults me. And Violet says, don't be an ass. And I swear I hear him chuff a chuckle in response. I'm like, Grump Dad, you're being a jackass, but I love it.
Yeah. A grumpy old man.
It's like, oh, you want to talk back? have some hunger.
Yes. I hold up my middle finger and keep my eyes forward. Liam snorts and grins, flashing his dimple, and now he's glaring. Tell me, is it fun pissing off the most powerful writer in the quadrant? You could try it yourself and find out, I suggest. I love that. I
It's
love
so
that.
cute.
Oh.
And that's gonna be a no from me.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love it.
Mhm.
They're so cute. They're so cute together. In like a friendly way.
In a friendly way.
I wouldn't be upset if they, celebrated.
Liam and Violet.
Yeah, I could see it.
Violet says, the only time I've actually been targeted was at night, and it's not like Liam here is sleeping in my bedroom. Liam responds, I mean, I'm not opposed. Violet, don't you even start. And then her head whips and she can't help but laugh. You are a shameless flirt. Thank you. It wasn't a compliment. Rhiannon, don't mind her. She's just sexually frustrated. Makes a girl crabby. To which Violet's like, that has nothing to do with it. God, could she have said that a little louder? Rhiannon, and yet I don't hear you denying it. Liam, I'm sorry I don't make the cut, but I'm sure Ryerson would be fine with my reviewing a couple candidates, especially if it means you'll stop flipping him off in front of his entire wing. Rhiannon says, and how exactly would you be reviewing candidates? What will you be scoring? This I have to hear. So then Rhiannon keeps going with it after Violet tries to kind of not necessarily shut it down, but she's just like, thanks, I'll be sure to run any potential liaisons by you. Rhiannon's like, I mean, you could watch. Just to be sure she's fully covered, so no one sticks it to her. So then Riddick out of nowhere is like, oh, are we telling dick jokes now? Because my entire life has led up to this very moment. Masterful.
This whole section, just another example of I fucking love their group dynamic. I love it so fucking much. It makes me so happy.
I'm so glad that you're really getting into this book.
Yeah, I am. I love it.
It's making me happy. I knew you'd like it. All right, so Taryn hears Violet thinking that everyone in this room can stay on their dragon. He's like, so can you. Violet says, don't you have better things to do with your day than listen in on my self-loathing? Not particularly. I can't imagine with how often I find myself doing that. I would just drive my dragon absolutely bonkers. They would hate to be in my mind.
Yeah, I feel that.
Shall we get into our song dedication? So for chapter 18, I chose Little Girl Gone by Chinchilla. This is essentially Violet finally clapping back at Dane. Some of the standout lyrics for this one, I think this was the only one I picked standout lyrics for because the rest were kind of pretty obvious. But the lyrics are, wow, you're so fucking stupid. Been a while since my head was this polluted. Lucky I know my own worth. Say that again, I didn't quite hear ya. Messed with the wrong bitch in the wrong era. I've been at work and I got my badge of honor. Honey, I've changed so much since I last saw ya. And then come at me, don't tell me I didn't warn ya.
I can.
It's very poignant. But also, Chinchilla has the word chin in it, and I was like, hee hee.
I'll see what you did there. I see it. So my choice for this chapter is The Best Thing That Never Happened by We Are the In Crowd. And the tone of this song is just straight up, fuck you, Dane. Standout lyrics for this one for me. I won't settle. You're never going to hold me down. So toxic. You ain't nothing but a prick. And don't you get sick of hearing only your own voice. It's just spot on, Dane. And there are more lines. And this is just one of kind of my favorite songs in general, to be honest, especially spiteful kind of songs. And there's just so many good lines in this that make me just want to go listen to it. It's a good song.
So, chapter 19, I picked Kiss or Kill by Stella Cole. At this point, it could really go either way between Zayden and Violet. That's it. Self-explanatory.
Yeah, I got you there. Mine was Guilty Pleasure by Chapel Rowan. There are a lot of standout lyrics here, as Violet is starting to accept her feelings towards Zayden. Standout lyrics, think back to what you said and I turn red. Wild thoughts that make me melt. Sometimes I scare myself, but I can't help what I can't help. I fantasize what we would do and how would it taste and the way you move. Girl, I know you've been thinking those thoughts. I know I feel you.
For chapter 20, I picked Play with Fire by Sam, I want to say it's Tinnis, featuring Yacht Money. All right, but essentially, Amber thought she could play with fire without getting burned, and well, too soon?
So I see we both went with the same kind of theme there. Mine is also pretty self-explanatory, although not quite as on point. But it is what got stuck in my head, and it is Girl on Fire by Alicia Keys.
Such a good one. I'm mad I didn't think of this song.
Sitting there reading, and my brain just goes, this girl is on. I couldn't, I tried to find something that was a little bit more apropos because the song itself is, an uplifting kind of song and definitely not about someone, getting torched to death. But it's what was stuck in my head and it made sense.
It works. The song I picked for chapter 21 is Dark Side. And I'm sorry, I do not remember how to pronounce this band, but I think it's like Neoni? But this is Violet essentially starting to realize that Basgiath has a dark side that she's only just scratched the surface of. The song is definitely from the perspective of like, I'm the monster, I have a dark side, but if you think of it more as like the war college, it takes a whole new spin.
So my final choice for this chapter was more about like the group dynamics and the friendships, and especially in particular talking about their like flirty like sex talk banter stuff. And I chose "Wanna Be" by the Spice Girls. It's just, I mean, if you want to be my lover, you gotta get with my friends, you know?
Make it last forever.
Friendship never ends. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this week's episode.
We're so excited to be on this journey with you.
Be sure to stick around for the bloopers and join us next week as we discuss everything that happened in chapters 22 through 24.
Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Bound to Be Bad Podcast.
And while you're at it, please be sure to leave a glowing rating and review on your podcast listening platform of choice. It helps us grow.
Know a fellow book baddie who can't get enough of the Empyrean series either? Share us with a friend to give them something to hold on to till the next book release, because who knows when that will be.
Till then, we'll be here, and we hope to see you soon.
Bye.
Bye!
Finally, we've got a fun little section where we've each picked a song to This word trips me up every time. Okay. As quiet went. I can't say how bizarre without thinking that. How bizarre.
How bizarre. How bizarre. Yeah.
Damn 90s.
Because he loves me.
Oh.
What did I... Oh.
What did you do?
No. I slightly bumped my mug against the bottom of my monitor, and it made my camera cover flip down.
You're just screaming, "'Cause he loves me in the dark."
Man, oh my goddamn. Every time. Twinsies we met.
Twins. Are you trying to make me choke while I drink water?
Just trying to speed the process along.
Oh, thanks.
No, please don't leave me. I can't do life without you.
Damn right.
God, I love how long your hair is.
It's so long.
Like, it's that long and your hair is in a high ponytail right now.
Yeah.
My God.
I need to trim it before I bleach the ends and go full Violet Soaring Kill.
Oh, yeah.
Because the hyperfixation.
I mean, if there's any better time. And then whoop.
And I whoop.
And I whoop.